we go through. I believe Angel had should be on here in about 5 minutes. I think she actually went to College Street instead of joining on Zoom, so she should be here shortly. I guess what we can try to do right now is perhaps get a roll call just to see who's here, see if we have a quorum, and then go through. I can only go from the people on my screen.
Hey George, is this only virtual today?
It is only virtual
Oh
today.
my goodness, I came all the way up here.
Oh, Brandon, you're up here too.
Yep,
I
I'm late
almost
for
did as
leaving.
well.
So
That
now I
just
gotta
shows you
pay.
how bad we
Now I
are at
gotta
reading
pay to get
emails.
out. Now I gotta pay to get out of the parking deck.
Brandon, if you'd like to go to either the third floor of 200 or the 14th floor of the courthouse, either Jennifer on the third floor or Mo on the 14th floor could help with parking validation. But so sorry about that. We are all virtual today since many folks are in different places given the school spring breaks.
Right. So what we'll do is let's go ahead and just do, I want to say roll call, but I don't know how that will work unless we're having to pass it. Let me just go through and just say people's names, who's on my screen so I can make sure that you are there. If you can just say who you are or just confirm, because I'll say your name and the agency you represent. So again, myself, name is George Redmond. I represent the Buncombe County Sheriff's Office. I am the chair of the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. I see Don Johnson. Is that right?
Yes, Don Johnson, ABCCM jail chaplain.
Thank you, Don. Banta?
Banta Whitner, community member.
Good morning, Banta. Sergeant Loveland?
Sergeant Craig Loveland, APD.
Good to see you, Craig. Angie?
Yep, here from Baya.
Good morning, Angie. Rebecca Smith?
Good morning. I'm here representing Health and Human Services.
Rebecca. Judge Smitty?
Good morning, all. I am Chief District Court Chief's designee. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Lorraine?
Yeah, Lorraine Williams, area consultant with DJJ Community Programs.
Lorraine Ty? I think, Ty, you're still muted.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Ty, Program Director at Pivot Point. Sorry about that.
You're good. Morning, Ty. Beth?
Beth Kraft, community member.
All right. I see Juvenile Justice Services. I'll just say Hannah because it doesn't have your name, but I see you in there. Hannah?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Hannah Ledgerton, Youth Justice Manager with our Buncombe County Justice Services Department and staff support for the JCPC.
Thank you, Hannah. Richard?
Good morning, everyone. Richard Caro from Umoja Health, Wellness, and Justice Collective, and UNITE, representing UNITE as well.
Thank you, Richard. Sylvia?
Sylvia Clement, Chief Court Counselor with Juvenile Justice.
Sylvia. Karen?
Morning, all. Karen Pearson, Executive Director with Teen Court and Earn and Learn with the Community Service Programs.
Thank you, Karen. So Deja?
Hi, good morning. I'm JCPC Youth Representative and Senior Intern at Buncombe Alternatives.
Thank you, Deja. Is it Angelica from Cape? That would be us. Is that right, Hannah?
Yes, Angelica is here helping the Zoom run smoothly, and I believe we are live streaming this morning.
Sounds
We
wonderful.
are live.
Thank you, Angelica. Kokima?
Great morning, Kokima Hines, community member.
Thank you, Kokima. Looks like we have, is it Mr. Morrison as well? Who's one of our applicants, is that right?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Morning, Michael. Brandon, you here? Did you find a place?
I'm just sitting up here on the third floor. I didn't know who she said to talk to, but yeah, I'm Brandon Priester, Vice Chair of the JCPC.
Brandon, you can always come to my office up in here, and we can do it this way as well if you're
Okay,
lonely.
I'm sitting on this comfortable couch out here in front of the elevators in the lobby. So
Brandon, if you're facing the elevators, the office to the left, hopefully Jennifer Aviles should be sitting at the desk there. So
I see a lady with a headband on. Yeah, through the glass.
I bet so.
Okay, thank you.
As long as you're comfortable, Brandon.
Oh yeah, very comfortable. It's a nice couch.
Good to know. Kadia Ross.
Good morning. Yes, Kadia Ross, public health designee.
Trying to look on my screen to see who else. Denninger, are you here?
I believe David Denninger just joined.
Okay.
Good morning, David.
Good morning.
All right. Oh.
I believe at the moment we have 12 JCPC voting members. So that does mean that given our current number of membership, we should have a quorum. Let's see. I mean, Lorraine, does that sound right to you?
Yes, and I actually counted 14. Oh wait,
And
no,
Angel just joined.
So Angel.
Morning, Angel.
Good
I believe
morning.
you have 14 now.
Wonderful. Good morning, Angel.
Good morning.
Well, thank you all for being on this Juvenile Crime Prevention Council meeting today, April 17th of 2025. Again, my name is George Redmond, JCPC Chair. The next on our agenda, what we're going to be going through is the review and action of any of our minutes that we had. We went over, I think Hannah had sent out the prior minutes. If you haven't had a chance to review them, please look over them now, just to confirm. And someone please raise a virtual hand if you did not get that email that was sent out from Hannah that has the minutes. We can make sure we can get those to you.
Chair Redmond, this is Judge Dotson Smith. I did send a quick email to Hannah earlier, and so I don't know if these have been updated or not. I think Judge Merrill's name was misspelled, so
okay.
Robinmerrr. Oh dear, ELL. I think that's right.
MERRELL.
I believe so.
Thank you, Judge. I'll make sure to
If you'll just verify
triple
that,
check
please.
that before we finalize them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. If you had a chance to review the minutes, besides the spelling of Judge Merrill's name, thankfully Judge Dr. Smith has pointed out, if there's any other corrections or edits, kind of please speak up now. Otherwise, we will need a motion to approve.
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Angie. Can we get a second?
A second.
All right. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Denninger, you got your hand raised? Did you not get the
Sorry, I was just saying aye.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks for the virtual hands up, Denninger. Okay, so we can move on. Is there anything else? So that's reviewing the action of the minutes. I believe the next thing that's on our agenda would be a review and action of the allocations committee recommendations for FY 2025-2026. And without further ado, Angel, you want to take us away and let us know what those recommendations are from the allocations committee?
Sure. Okay, so at the allocations session, we received detailed presentations from Aspire, Buncombe Alternative, Pivot Point, and Emojo Iunete. And each program was given 10 minutes to present and an additional 5 minutes for questions, allowing us to gain comprehensive insights to their proposals. The total funding available for fiscal year 26 is $644,477. The proposals submitted by the applicants totaled $633,617, leaving a surplus of $10,860. Our recommendations is to fund all the programs at their given ask, and we propose to split the $10,860 between Pivot Point and Emojo Iunete. And our decision with this was because when there was an allocation of additional funds from fiscal year 25, we gave that to Buncombe Alternatives and Aspire so that they could receive a vehicle. Are there any questions?
I would like to say it's a good day when we have leftover discretionary funds to be able to apply to other agencies in excess of what they've asked for. So within my time, this usually isn't the case. So I'm grateful for today's allocations recommendations. Any questions, concerns as to the allocations committee recommendations? The numbers that have worked out. Lorraine, do we need anything else regarding the discretionary funds that were in excess? Or are we good to go?
Sorry, I needed to unmute. For the discretionary funds, for the additional funds, do you mean for the 10,000, or are you talking about from the previous, the current year's
10,000.
The 10,000? No, just the vote
Okay.
from I mean, you had a quorum actually at the other meeting, but just a vote today by the JCPC to accept that would be good, and just a motion as proposed by the committee.
That was good. That's where we're at. If you don't have any questions or any concerns based on the recommendations, next we'll need a motion put forth to approve the allocations committee recommendations put forth by Angel as we go into FY 2025-2026.
So I move to accept the 25-26 allocation recommendations for the funding year, next funding year.
I
Thank
second.
you, Angie. Thank you, Angel. All in favor, say aye or give a hand raise in your virtual mode.
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right. Looks like those have passed. I want to first, before we move on to the next item on the agenda, I want to thank everyone who was able to attend, or even if you weren't able to attend, for the effort that you put forth in allowing us to make these recommendations for this upcoming year. Obviously, the allocations is towards the end of the process after going through the planning and the monitoring, but I want to just give a big thank you to everyone who participated in all of these processes in order for us to be able to move into next year's funding with all of these wonderful agencies. Next, what we have is the JCPC membership. I think that's on our agenda. We've got new applications to review with motions to approve. I believe our two individuals that have applied for this upcoming year would be Susanna Knox. I believe that's with the PD's office. And then we have Mr. Michael Morrison. I didn't see Susanna on, but I did see Michael present. During this time, Michael, if you can unmute yourself, please introduce yourself to the team and kind of let us know who you are and why you'd be a good fit for JCPC.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Michael Morrison. In advance, I appreciate your consideration of my application. From viewing my application, you can see that these kind of matters, issues related to juvenile justice, juvenile crime prevention, have been near and dear to my heart for some time now. But it's kind of taken a different shape over the years, right? So growing up, it was more so from the perspective of a friend and being exposed to the system in that regard. And once I got into college, really working with programming, different service organizations. Most of my time in college while attending UNC Chapel Hill was spent volunteering at the Butner Child Development Center. We had a different curriculum that we would go out to weekly and talk with some of the individuals there. That programming continued into law school. I went to the University of Alabama School of Law. So go Hills, Roll Tide, if anyone's a fan on the call. I tell people I have a unique and convenient balance of fandom. I have a basketball and a football school, but while in law school, I also partnered with the Juvenile Justice Clinic, and we were involved in some services and programming there. And now, in my practice now, I'm a labor and employment attorney, and I work with Ford and Harrison. So, kind of what got me into labor and employment was, the bulk of our country's civil rights laws are kind of comprised within the workforce, and so Title VII, things of that nature. But it doesn't allow me to really cultivate that same involvement that I had with juvenile justice and juvenile crime prevention. And as a new father now, I have a son that'll be 11 months old, I guess later this week. There's also a different urgency to wanting to get back involved, and I thought this council would be a perfect way to do so. I've talked with some of the members and just really ironing out what I thought I could bring to the table. I think I have a level of creativity and open-mindedness, but I'm also a team player. And I like to get involved, boots on the ground. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I don't mind having uncomfortable conversations, and I don't mind exploring new options to ultimately get to our finish line, which is preventing these pipelines that have unfortunately sprung up around Western North Carolina, as they have throughout the whole state. And so I look forward to the opportunity to work with you all, should I be granted access. But regardless, I'm going to be on the lines fighting with you all regardless. So thanks for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me.
Thank you, Michael.
This is Judge Dotson Smith. I don't have a question, but I do want to just let folks know I still have my remaining Duke blue nail on from basketball. But despite that, I appreciate what you can bring to the team.
My wife is a Dookie, so I'm a team player in that regard.
All righty, I hear you.
That went to the wrong blue, but I still know how to get things done.
And I've got Hornet socks on today, just to add to all the confusion.
I love it.
Hannah, am I able to mute people that are talking about Duke? I'm just wanting to see if I have that capability.
We'll see if Angelica can give you that power.
Yes, please.
I do want to say thank you, Michael, and thank you to D. Terrell McGirt from City of Asheville Parks and Recreation Department, who's our former member who connected Michael with us and recommended the work of this council. So it's always wonderful to have folks who've been members or who are members helping with recruiting folks to join the JCPC. Andy Babowski was able to usher us through monitoring season, and then he needed to step down from his seat as a community member, county commissioner appointee, just a couple months before his 2 years was up. So there is a vacant position for a county commissioner appointee community member that Michael would be eligible for. The other application that was pending is Susanna Knox with the Public Defender's Office. Scott Dennis has just completed his first 2 years and needed to step down as he's been pulled more into adult court over the recent months and coming future. So Susanna Knox, who's been covering the juvenile court for a lot of the public defenders cases recently, is applying to step into that role as the designee for the public defender. Well, before we move on to a vote, just a quick note, we still have, at the moment, we have a county commissioner seat vacant. And we're so happy to have Deja on board as a young adult. And we still have one other spot for a youth member under the age of 21. But thanks to Michael and Susanna for their applications.
Thank you, Hannah, again for sending out those applications for us to review prior to today's meeting. Thank you, Michael, for attending today and taking time out to speak with us. If y'all haven't seen what Hannah sent out regarding Susanna, you can kind of look at that. She kind of gave you the synopsis of who she is, but there is an application for appointment that she sent out if you needed any more detail as to what she's doing and her interest.
George, I'm happy to speak to that if you'd like.
Go ahead, Dininger.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've worked with Susanna Knox. I'm an assistant district attorney, but I've worked, opposite Susanna Knox on a number of cases, including and specifically in juvenile court. I mean, she's very fiercely competent. She went to Harvard undergrad, I think. I don't remember where she went to law school. But she's highly competent. She's devoted to public service and a devoted member of the Public Defender's Office. She cares deeply for the kids. I would highly recommend her for the position as someone who's been opposing counsel.
Thank you, Dininger. Well, as long as she didn't go to Duke, I think we're okay.
Yeah, I think you're in the clear.
I am still present. That being said, would you entertain motions from a Dookie, Chair?
Yes, Judge. We will entertain any motions that we have for the wonderful applicants we have for this coming up year.
I would move that we accept and approve both of these applicants for the positions.
Can I get a second?
Second that motion. Yeah.
Thank you, Banta. All in favor say aye or use a virtual hand.
Aye.
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 Excellent. Anyone opposed? All right, wonderful. We're just moving through this agenda. We might actually be on time for the first time in a long time. I don't want to, let me knock on some wood real quick a little bit later. Hannah, I think you did say the only thing we have left is vacancies right now as we enter in 2026 fiscal years, the county commissioner seat, as well as an under 21. Is that correct?
Yes. So county commissioners is up to the county commissioners, and we're thankful for Commissioner Moore's support. And then we do have a vacancy for a young person under the age of 21. We've talked about this seat a lot. while a typical appointment is for 2 years, I think we've also noted that if a young person isn't able to make that type of commitment, they're always welcome to talk with us, and we can still, if they were interested in joining for a portion of that time, they would be eligible and could always step down when their life changed and availability changed. And it's a tricky time of day, but there's also been, interest and support from administrators at schools and to help support this, and we're open to supporting that however possible. Rebecca, you have your hand
I
raised?
just was gonna see if it would be okay for us to send something out to our extended foster care youth. I think that would be a good population to draw from, and they have a lot of great experiences and unique experiences to add to the team and be a voice for others who are in their circumstances. So just wanted to put that out there as an option, and be happy to send something out if that makes sense.
I think that would be wonderful. I'm happy to share kind of the general overview with you, and then yeah, if you want to pass that along, that sounds wonderful.
Thank you,
And then
Rebecca.
George and myself, and I think Judge Dotson Smith, in the past, we've all happy to talk with them more about what it looks like and any ways we can provide support.
Thank you, Hannah. So for this county commissioner seat, is this something, I mean, I'll reach out and try to see if I can get with Martin this week. Is this something that needs to go on the agenda? Or no?
No, I think you can touch base with him.
Okay.
But the county commissioners at the start of the calendar year designate the councils and committees that each commissioner will be on. And so at this moment in time, we have a vacancy.
I'll get with Martin and let the council know as to the direction from county commissioners for this coming up year.
There are a few folks who I'll reach out to who's it's time to decide if you're interested in serving another 2 years. So I'll reach out to those folks and follow up.
All right. Next up on our agenda, we have upcoming things that we need to plan for. The annual plan and certification.
Yes, so just giving you all a heads up that the annual plan and certification is something that all JCPCs across the state submit to the North Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice on an annual basis. So it just compiles all the work that the JCPC has done over the previous year. The certification shares an update on where I guess our current status for this year of complying with JCPC expectations and preparing for the following year. So I'll be putting all that together. We'll send it out to you to review, and it will go before both of those documents, as well as the recommended funding allocations for next year, will go before the Board of Commissioners for their review and sign off in June, when they are in the process of approving the budget for next year as well. These funds are coming directly from the state as aid to counties, so they don't have any impact on local taxes or anything like that. So the JCPC gets to make recommendations for what to do with the full amount allocated. Lorraine, do you have, I think at this time of year, we often might need to have a vote somehow related to the process of approving the annual plan and certification before our June meeting. Do you have recommendation for what needs to happen right now? Maybe in the past it's been that if the JCPC approves, I'll work with the executive committee to make sure that the annual report is signed off on and approved before it goes to the Board of Commissioners? Does that need a vote? Oh, sorry, Lorraine is trying to get back in as a panelist.
All right, there we go. I apologize for that. Somehow I disappeared from the meeting.
I'm back, Lorraine.
Okay. Yeah, Hannah, you'll want to send out a draft of the annual plan and certification for all the JCPC members to see. And I know that you all have, and then it will go on the commissioner's agenda after that to review, but you all will need a vote for that when it's completed. And for those who are new members, I can just say that the annual plan and certification, can you all hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure because so the annual plan and certification for newer members, the annual plan goes through, represents all of the work that you all have done throughout the year. And so it's the role of the JCPC to identify the needs of the youth that are currently in the juvenile justice system by looking at the risk and needs and assessing what types of services are needed for them, and to ensure that the programs that you all are funding with the allocations vote you just did today is in line with the needs of what the data is showing from assessments that the youth and DJJ update every 90 days as they are in the system. So you all have looked at that and taken that process seriously and do an excellent job with it. And for anyone newer, there's a copy of the risk and needs report that Hannah has compiled that's available. And the annual plan shows the due diligence of the committee and the work that you all have, of the council and the work you all have done throughout this fiscal cycle to decide on programs, so they can see your process and it's transparent that way. So that's what the annual plan has. It shows the programs that are funded. It shows the risk and needs data and what you all have identified as needs and as program needs. And then the certification has more to do with your membership on your list and who's in which positions and questions about that, and shows the advertising of the RFP and pieces like that. So it's a little bit more technical, just showing the membership. And those are the two documents that go before the commissioners at the end of the year. And it also includes the funding plan so that the funds can begin July 1st for programming for those that you have just voted on today. So that's in a nutshell what it is. And Hannah, as soon as you have a draft of those together, sending those out to the JCPC to review will be important. And then you all can vote on it at the June meeting.
So we can wait for the official vote at the June meeting. I know it's always the Board of Commissioners typically has their meeting where they review and approve it a couple of days before our June JCPC meeting. That still work okay?
Yes, the timing in Buncombe's always a little bit tenuous that way. You would ideally like to have the JCPC meeting prior, but sometimes the calendar doesn't always align that way. So yes, so I would just be sure that you have a copy of it out to the council so that any online conversation can take place. And if there are questions, or if the council would feel more comfortable, George, you could also set up a special meeting. I think you all have done that in the past, sometimes just to to do a virtual meeting just specifically in May, specifically to look at the annual plan, review it, and take that action. So I will leave that up to you all. That would be ideal, but it would also work as long as the members haven't, the JCPC members do need the opportunity to review it and ask any questions and to be able to vote on it before the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you, Lorraine. So it sounds like, Hannah, we will have an annual plan and a certification draft that would come to us perhaps here within the next couple of weeks. We'll need to review that as a council, inquire as to any questions or concerns we may have into any of those documents, and then give an approval for the county commissioners so that they can approve it for their June commission meeting. Instead of doing it online, I want to know from the individuals that are here present today, are you okay with either meeting virtually like we are right now to kind of go over those sorts of things and answer questions, or are people more okay with just sending responses through email? I know everyone's got busy schedules and I want to honor your time. And so I know this is a sort of huge sort of part. It's kind of crossing the T's, dotting the I's as we get towards the end of this before it gets to commissioners. So I wanted to see what's convenient for everyone.
George, I say we just meet online because we're going into summer and we already had an extra meeting that we, with allocations, which is normal and fine, but I'm okay with, doing this online.
Doing what we're doing like right now? Okay.
Yes.
I do think in the past, when we haven't had another reason to have a May meeting, there has been some sort of vote during this meeting to kind of support the executive committee to kind of give a final approval for the annual plan. And I'll still share it with, if that is something that is of interest, I'll still share it with the whole council for review. But that would give, I think in the past, we've been able to not have to hold a separate JCPC meeting just to approve the annual plan. And at the moment, it doesn't appear that we have any pressing May issues to resolve.
Yeah, you're correct, Hannah. You all have also done that in the past.
I think my only concern is whether we need a backstop if we didn't have a quorum, but I'm comfortable with either proposition.
My thought is if we have enough people that are able to be present like we are today, then we can have more eyes on it. Obviously, it's great to have it go through the executive committee and offer their recommendation. But it's also good to see everyone, obviously virtually, and go over any sort of questions, concerns, and kind of just a look of what an annual plan and certification may look like, especially for the new members as they come through, and for some of those programs that haven't seen it. So if everyone's in favor, I'm okay with just doing kind of what we're doing right now. Pretty much that'll be the only thing on the agenda, so it shouldn't take that long, especially if we have the draft prior to the meeting and have reviewed it. And so if we're in favor with that, we can perhaps carve out a date and time, if possible, that everyone's available so that we can get back on. And if by some chance we can't get a date that everyone's on, then maybe we would need to resort back to the executive committee and do something that way. I guess what we'll look at is pushing out certain dates. Hannah, I guess within the next couple of weeks, when we send out that annual plan of certification, we can push out dates in May to figure out who's available for that date and time. Right. Next on the agenda, what's going to be upcoming for the next fiscal year is committee chairs nominations. We've got chair, vice chair, and committee chairs. that will all need to be voted on as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's something that typically we do and do that vote during the June meeting. So given folks kind of the heads up to think about that right now, if you're a current committee chair or council chair, we've got George Redmond as our council chair, Brandon Priester as our vice chair, Angie Gardner as our planning committee chair, Angel Redmond as our allocations chair, and Andy Babowski was our monitoring chair. And as we mentioned earlier, he's stepped down from his position. So for newer members, the planning committee meets in the fall and reviews the data from young people who went through the intake process with DJJ the previous year, looks at community resources and gaps, and pulls together a report to summarize everything, as well as makes funding priority recommendations to the council. The monitoring committee meets in January and February and has folks go out to the different programs to perform site visits and make sure that programs are kind of meeting what they've set forth, and if they need areas of support, that's identified, and also makes recommendations back to the council about continued funding. And then the allocations committee meets between February and March, typically March, to review all the applications and hear from all the programs and make recommendations to the council around what levels of funding to provide over the coming year or two. Because this is the first time that we are going to have all of the current JCPC programs eligible for 2-year funding at the current level. We don't know yet. There's a very slight possibility that there won't need to be an allocations process next year. There would still be planning and monitoring. And, we've unfortunately had to deal with some program closures over the past number of years. So if a program closed or ran into significant issues, then that could always lead to an additional allocations process. But so just giving folks that to think about. If you have any questions from current people in those positions, or if anyone's in those positions who wants to share thoughts, please do. And then we can prepare some votes, or be prepared to vote on those positions in the June meeting.
Thank you, Hannah. Is it my thought process is that we should still have someone for the allocations meeting just in case, right? Someone for chair. I know that we've got 2-year funding, but to not have one, and then I don't anticipate something happening with any of our programs, but if they do, then and not having a chair, I guess. So potentially Angel could have not much work to do if she was the allocation chair again this upcoming year, or whoever is in that spot may not have something since it's a 2-year funding. Then again, we may need you there just as an emergency in case we do have to update the allocations regarding some closures or changes in programming. If you have any interest in any of those committee chairs, Angie, Angel, Brandon, obviously y'all are in positions right now. If y'all are wanting to stay or think your time is over as well, please let us know so we can figure out in that June meeting how this JCPC wants to move forward. Y'all have all done a wonderful job, and obviously continuing to love to have you. But kind of let us know, and if you have interest, let us know as well, so we can get some of these chairs. Obviously, we do need the monitoring committee position filled, so that is something that if you are interested in that role, obviously Andy Babowski is not here any longer, but if you have any questions or concerns about that position, please feel free to reach out to myself or Hannah, and we'll be able to answer any questions you may have.
George, are you willing to continue as chair?
I'm willing to continue as chair. Yes.
So George, All right, buddy. If you continue as chair, I will continue as the planning chair. I do feel committed to that position because I feel like, we're just getting to where we need to get into the weeds and look at the red data that we've talked about. And I really want to follow through with that. And I really want Crystal to get with us and begin to look at that data. So again, if someone else wants to be the planning committee chair, happy to let you have that. But if not, I will continue on. I'll miss Scott Dennis. He was really a good participant the last few years, and his perspective was really valued. But anyway, yes, sign me up.
Wonderful. I just got a message that Banta would be interested in serving as monitoring chair as long as Craig Loveland would help.
Oh.
Yes. Good job, Banta.
Oh, there you are, Craig.
Yeah, here I am. No, we did talk about it, and there's a lot on my plate, but during that monitoring time, you 100% have me, Banta, so I'm in.
Awesome. In the past, we have had vice chairs for the committees that kind of help to step in if the committee chair wasn't able. That's something that, I think also y'all can consider about whether to reinstate that or to keep it with committee chair and have them just know that they'll have extra committed members to lean on.
I think she's got it. So I don't think we need to vice chair anything, but I promise I'll be there.
Awesome. Thank you.
The committee chairs and the council chair and vice chair do join myself, Chief Clement, and Lorraine to check in as an executive committee before each of the full council meetings. And if there's any, additional issues that come up, then you're kind of in on reviewing those issues as they arise before the full council reviews them.
I'm good with staying on the allocations. I know that there might not be much for me this time, but that means I can join and help out in the other committees.
That's right. On my committee, you can, Angel.
I'm going to help you, 18.
Well said, Angel. Well said. And that leaves, I believe, Brandon on the couch. How you feeling, Brandon?
Oh, if you on, man, that's the only reason I'm here. No, no, I'll continue. Like we, talked about in the executive meeting. I was worried about that monitoring chair position, so that was going to be what I was going to do to help the committee, is to rotate back into that chair position and vacate my seat. But it sounds like somebody has, made that decision already. So yeah, I'm happy to stay as vice chair unless somebody else wants. However, I can help.
Okay. It was good to hear from all of y'all, and obviously hearing y'all's interest to stay on is great. And I don't want that to preclude anyone who wants to show interest in wanting to participate and be a chair, committee chair, or in a JCPC chair or vice chair as well. So it's still something that needs to be voted on in June. But it's great to hear from y'all's interest of wanting to stay in those. Again, if you have interest or anything like that and wanting to serve, this comes up every year. So at that point, feel free to reach out to us and we'll try to get you as much information so you can be part of this council in a way that you seem fit.
And for newer members, you can consider which committees you're interested in joining. Feel free to reach out and ask any questions about them. You can serve on 1, you can serve on 3. If you have additional commitments that, make a committee less feasible, then that's okay. We'll just, appreciate your service to the council. So I can consider that as well. Great.
We move on into the agenda. The next thing that we have is the DJJ update. Sylvia, you're on.
Okay, so numbers are about the same, no major increases. increasing in numbers. But I am happy to report that I've had a couple of interviews for court counselors. So hopefully I will hear something in the next couple of weeks about hiring some new folks. Assessments are going well, no backlogs. They are offering some virtual slots, excuse me, for those kids that are in detention that cannot make it for court. So that's been very, very helpful. What else? We did have a court counselor to complete general instructor school. So that person will be able to help us with our trainings to get staff trained and moving on to the next level. We did take several kids to Asheville Adventure using our JJBH funding yesterday. That was very exciting. The weather was good. They enjoyed it. So that was a very good event on yesterday.
What was that, Sylvia? What trip was that?
To the Asheville Adventure
Okay.
zip lining.
Yep.
So yeah, we did that last year, did it again this year. So it went very well. And that's pretty much it. So things are just moving right along. We're just seeing kids and families. Have a big day today with secure custody. We have 4, I believe, 4 or 5 in secure. So we got a busy day today.
And Sylvia, have y'all already went through the training for red data? Did that
We
already
did.
happen with
We
y'all?
did that last month on the 17th, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, with Crystal. And she said she would get with Lorraine to schedule a meeting for JCPC, for the JCPC council. So I guess she's waiting for Lorraine to reach out or connect with her on that.
I believe that we're just waiting on availability from her at this point. So
okay.
We'll keep moving forward with trying to schedule that meeting.
Yeah. Sorry we couldn't connect with you guys, but she wanted it just to be the court counselor. So
absolutely.
And Hannah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure that before we schedule that, I need to send that, Lorraine and I need to send the requests off for further information that we talked about. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Denninger. We're saying red data. We're talking about racial equity. So this is the sort of data that comes from the state that deals with the sort of demographics and how the juvenile are being handled with programs, referrals, petitions, all that kind of stuff.
So racial and ethnic disparities data, red data, is a part of the both goals of the state, our local goals, as well as the National Juvenile Justice Delinquency and Prevention Act, to be able to look at and try to address racial and ethnic disparities. Crystal Wynn Lewis is the person from our North Carolina DPS DJJ system who is really the expert in looking at red data, and the way that North Carolina has been handling this over the past couple of years has been that working with Crystal to schedule a time for her to be able to come and actually present the data to the JCPC, being the way that we are able to really access the most in-depth red data. And I think that they're trying to be intentional about, recognizing that data is a starting point for the conversation. And so wanting her to help facilitate that. But it does mean that we work with Crystal to find that time. And she is working, of course, with localities across the state. So.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Are we going to try to combine with Crystal, JCPC, and interested parties from SJP, School Justice Partnership, for that one meeting?
I think she has been open to what, in the past when we've talked about trying to schedule these meetings, she's been open to following the lead that our local leaders set. So I think that that's, last time we were able to, a year ago, a little over a year ago, we were able to have her join us virtually and had that, primarily focused on the council, but then that I think George and I helped to share that data back with the School Justice Partnership and also publicly. So I think that's up to y'all as leaders of the JCPC and the School Justice Partnership to consider.
George, do you have a preference, or do you want to look at that? We can talk later, but I really think in person's better than virtual, and I think that may determine a size issue and who's available.
Yes, I think in person is probably mandatory. The only problem I have with the School Justice Partnership is that usually when we get into this data and this conversation, it usually takes longer than the time frame we have for School Justice Partnership, and everyone wants to kind of dive in and inquire a little bit more as to what these numbers look like. And my concern is that we won't have enough time with School Justice Partnership within that time frame. It'll almost be a little bit longer, and so. That's the only concern I have with combining the two is that it may go a little bit longer than what people are allocated for the School Justice Partnership.
I wonder then if we could do similar to what we did before, which is let's have JCPC hear it first, and then if we do a synopsis, it might more tailor a different meeting with SJP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can talk and float that out a little bit, but that may be the better way to do it so that we can maybe figure out where we need to hang that time in the School Justice Partnership. Thank you.
Yep. Right. I guess next on our agenda, we're looking at Lorraine for an update.
Yes, it's good to see all of you. Okay, good. I'm unmuted. Good to see all of you. And as far as updates, just a couple of news announcement kinds of things. And then I apologize, I didn't send out the actual program report, but I can share that if that, Hannah, will that work for me to share that on the screen just briefly? I'm a panelist, I think. Would that let me do that?
I believe so. Do you have a share button visible?
Yes, I do. Let's see. Let's do a window. Well, I'm having trouble finding it on here, even though it's open. Let me just go to announcements first, and then I'll see if I can share it. Let me reverse those. So good to see all of you. As far as announcement kinds of things from juvenile justice, a couple of reminders. I know that at the last meeting, or I think it was at allocations, we talked about how discretionary funds would be coming out. Those were released at the same time as third quarter accounting, the announcement that those would be available. And discretionary funds are funds that if programs such as Buncombe County Youth Justice Clinical Program, like when they closed, they chose to keep the money in the county and to give it to other JCPC programs, and you all redistributed those funds to two different programs to purchase vehicles. If there had not been other programs in the county that had needed those funds, those would get returned at third quarter accounting time, and all of the funds that get returned from programs closing and such statewide get pulled together, and programs have the opportunity to apply for them. So one program in Buncombe County did apply. You probably would have had more applications had there not been that earlier reallocation process internally with Buncombe County. And Pivot Point WNC did apply for the same proposal or a similar proposal that they had put forth to you all as a council when you were distributing that $50,000. It was to fund the community liaison for the first part of that position, and then they had matching funds to continue that position if they got those initial funds. Unfortunately, their specific program request did not meet the requirements. Discretionary funds are a little odd, and they have to follow statute, and they have real specific, their staffing usually isn't part of that. I thought that theirs could qualify, but as in dialogue with my colleagues, others felt like that wasn't appropriate. It's staffing's usually in real specific circumstances, like if a program is about to close, something like that. So it's within the context of very specific qualifications. So unfortunately, Pivot Point did not qualify for those discretionary funds that they requested. And I was sorry to hear that, because I know that we all thought it was a great opportunity to do that, but unfortunately it wasn't a good match for those funds. So there were no programs in Buncombe County that received discretionary funds this year, but discretionary award announcements did just go out to all programs who requested them, letting them know whether or not they've received them. And programs statewide that receive discretionary funds need to have their budget revisions for those in by the end of April, and then all pieces of those revisions through by mid-May. In addition to that, I just want to remind programs, I know we've had a lot of programs that have done budget revisions because you all did the in-county transfer to move funds from one program that was closing to 2 additional programs. And then I know Karen Pearson and her team at Buncombe Alternatives, they also did a line item revision and some staffing revision in an earlier budget revision for their Teen Core program. And Aspire, you all voted on a budget revision for them. So you all may be pretty good with budget revisions, but just as a reminder to programs, if you have additional budget revisions, if it's something with staffing involved that requires it by May 15th, and that would mean you would probably want to contact George and Hannah to be on their special meeting, their quick special meeting for the annual plan. That would be probably your only opportunity at this point, if you do need that kind of a revision. But programs all have the opportunity to do line item revisions until June 15th. So just always want to remind you all of that this time of year, because I know it gets hectic and time goes quickly. And one of the most important reasons for programs to complete budget revisions is you all want to be sure that at final accounting time, you have spent all of your funds in each of your overall cost centers. So like your 100s, which would be your personnel, your 200s, supplies and materials. Each of those have to be overspent or spent. If they're underspent, that can trigger a refund. So sorry for JCPC members, because I know this doesn't really pertain to you, but I just want to say it as many times as possible to make sure that all the JCPC programs hear that. And I will send out an email reminder as well. Other items, there is going to be an NC Safe campaign this year. I know, Hannah, you were asking about that, and Buncombe County was ahead of the curve asking, and just within the week, annual NC Safe campaign statewide that first week in June. And so look forward to working with you all. And the event that for those who were able to attend last year, the NC Safe event that Buncombe County did was in the park and in downtown Asheville, and they did a great job with incorporating all kinds of fun things for the day. Hannah, you look like you needed to say something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say for folks who haven't heard of NC Safe, it's a campaign the state Department of Public Safety and Department of Public Health have been collaborating on around increasing safe storage of guns and distributing gun locks and occasionally a gun safe. I know, so we will start working with community partners, particularly some of our community partners who are working on gun violence prevention, around trying to plan an event that will be focused on, youth and community safety. Ideally, it might be, the goal is to have it the first week of June, in honor of June being Gun Violence Awareness and Prevention Month, and in alignment with the North Carolina NC Safe kind of week of action that first week of June. Sergeant Loveland, you had just reached out about gun locks, and I was going to say that Lorraine might be able to help with connecting, getting some gun locks from NC Safe for the Asheville Police Department, if that's of interest.
Yeah, our community engagement division is constantly connecting and continuing to connect with the community. And every time they have, something set up, they would love the opportunity with, the swag that they have, to be able to have gun locks there too, in all situations. So, looking to get into quite a few if we can. We appreciated the donation the last time, and we're about out, so which is a great thing. But love to chat with you, Lorraine, about how we can go about getting, a lot more.
Hey, good news, Sergeant Loveland. I am going to see Captain Brown, like Jonathan Brown, your community engagement. He's going to be coming to a meeting of mine next week, and I have had a box of gun locks that I haven't known what to do with.
Perfect.
And I will give those to him.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Angie. He'll appreciate it for sure.
Okay. And then real quick, Lorraine, would it be possible for you to receive the allocation of the distribution of the funds from the state to the programs that applied for those funds, just so maybe moving forward at the end of next fiscal year, if we have programs that do apply for funds, if they're available, maybe have a better idea of what would be appropriate for those funds? I'm just thinking that may be helpful since Pivot Point wasn't awarded for their ask.
Yes, and we do send out the code that goes with the general statute and the code, the specific piece of legislation that goes with those discretionary funds. The thing that's it's just the wording is a little tricky for that, and I didn't look closely at it. You have to read it several times. It's one of those things that the discretionary funds, when they were first set up, when you read it, you'll see it's set up specifically, or initially it was set up for with contracted programs in mind that are facilities. So all of the wording sounds like it's for a facility rather than for a community program. So it's a little tricky, and I did misinterpret it, I think, when I looked at it. So I am sorry for that, and have had conversations with Matt and Annis about that at Pivot Point, and because I know you all certainly support and wanted to be able to support all the programs, but wanted that 50,000 to go to vehicles since you all have just had a hurricane. So yeah, that was unfortunate, but we do send that out, and information about that. All the programs receive that as well. So. And as far as gun locks, that's awesome that you were able to get the gun locks to Captain Brown, or going to give them to him. And if there are other organizations that do need additional gun locks, we do have some more that we have gotten in our office, and we're glad to share those with the community. And NC Safe stands for Secure All Weapon, Secure All Firearms Effectively is the NC Safe. And so that is the purpose of the campaign. And last year we did hand out a lot of gun locks. And so I'm glad that those are out in the community. Hannah?
I don't believe that this needs a full vote, but the JCPC administrative funds, especially because we had an all virtual meeting in February and this month, will have a little bit of flexibility in some of our admin funds that normally helps provide some food and coffee for our in-person meetings. So the couple of the ways that we've spent down those funds in the past have been either supporting our DJJ book club with helping to purchase books, supporting needs related to when DJJ takes a group of youth out to Camp Greer for the day at the beginning of the summer for team building experiences. And also we've talked about printing for our youth resource guide. I know that particularly SROs have been, Sergeant Loveland went ahead and printed and laminated our youth resource guide for all of his SROs, but I know that Buncombe County SROs have also been eager to have printed copies. So if it's, I don't believe this needs a vote, Lorraine, but I'm happy to work with George and the executive committee to look at those numbers and talk through spend down opportunities, if that works.
Yeah, and if you want to get any, if any JCPC members have input on that and you want to bring that up, I mean, I'll pause so that you all can do that if you would like.
I guess we can ask Sylvia too. What do you need for that day at Camp Greer, Sylvia, or books? Which, if we chose between those two, what would be the higher need?
So I have submitted a proposal to VIA through the JJBH for the books, and so we have that taken care of. But the probably the Camp Greer Day, we would need some support on that with maybe refreshments and snacks. And yeah, the book club is taken care of, and so just
Okay.
refreshments and snacks.
And listen, I'm happy to help on Via's end with making some copies of the youth resource guide for, who do we need it for, the sheriffs or APD? I mean, Sergeant Loveland, I know you.
Buncombe County SROs, I think.
Okay, yeah, I can help out with some of that. I'd prefer, of course, if maybe to help out the kids the day at Camp Greer. I know that we're helping out with some through Henderson JCPC funds as well, but anyway, that's just my thought.
Hannah, do you know how much you're talking about generally?
It may be between $300 and $500. I'll take a look. But I think, yeah, if that sounds like a good direction to go in, we can work, I can work with Sylvia to make sure that we're figuring out what needs they have and how to support that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Lorraine, you're on mute.
There we go. If Hannah, if you want to just look at your budget, and I'll look at it also, and see what if it's the general supply, if they're going to be in the same category, then you'd be fine to do that, and you could maybe. But if it's a different category and it doesn't have isn't specific enough, we can look at it and see. And if a vote's needed, you all can do that maybe at your special meeting that now has two potential items.
I think that it will be able to do it with the current line items. So
Okay.
thank you.
And then just other quick announcements. The North Carolina community, my brain stopped. The North Carolina Community Alternatives for Youth, they meet quarterly in North Carolina. And in the past, they've often met in Asheville for their Western area meeting. It looks like the one coming up in May, it's on May 21st from 10 to 2. They have combined the Piedmont and the West. So it's down in Concord, North Carolina. And if anyone's interested, I haven't seen a flyer for that yet, but I'm sure Amanda will send those out when they become available, or we'll look for one to send out. If anyone's interested in attending that meeting, it's from 10 to 2, and that's the Community Alternatives for Youth regional meetings that they hold. But it's going to be in Concord on May 21st. And then the North Carolina Juvenile Services Association is holding their spring conference a little bit later this year. It is April 30th through May 2nd. So that's a Wednesday through a Friday. It is in Greensboro. And I will send out an agenda and like a draft agenda that they have and information on signing up. But you can also go to their website. If you Google North Carolina Juvenile Services Association, you'll pull up their website and you can register there. It's at the, I think, Embassy Suites in Greensboro. So good information. If programs have like training funds or things they want to send staff to, especially newer staff, it's a good opportunity for learning and a number of different topics covered. So, and then the governor's budget has been released, and there were a couple of things included in it. This, of course, is just the beginning of the budget process, which is usually a long process at the legislative level. But the governor's budget that he released a couple of weeks ago did include 2 items that Secretary Lassiter had requested in the overall juvenile justice budget and priorities. Those included the juvenile remediation that went into effect on January 1st. There were funds for that in the governor's budget, both for the contracts to be able to provide that service statewide, and also the one-time non-recurring funds for training that are taking place this spring to get programs who are contracted ready to provide that service. And you all probably recall that a few months ago that contract was available on a competitive basis. And then the other piece that was in those funds was in the governor's budget was for the Western Area Multi-Purpose Center Crisis and Assessment Center, which is a DJJ facility that has a number of beds that are used in different ways, and it's located here in Buncombe County. So those were the other recurring funds, was to continue the Western Area Multi-Purpose Crisis and Assessment Center for DJJ youth. So those are the 2 things included in there, and we'll see what are in the Senate and House budgets as those move forward. In the original ask for priorities for this year were increases for JCPC programs. Our contract services did have a slight cost of increase, cost of living raise this past year, but community program funds have not been raised in a number of years, those JCPC funds. And so that hopefully will be included in one of the other budgets and considered as part of that. But we'll have to see. I know we're getting close on our time, George, so I do have a program report I can share, but I think most of you have seen that before, so I will just send that out to you all. I'll just hit reply all and send it out. And if any of you have questions about it, please reach out. But all the programs are doing well and have had a lot of referrals in the past 2 months. So.
And when you do that, I'll also send out the program implementation reports. Apologies, I didn't get that out with your meeting materials. That's something that the JCPC had been working towards, having a little bit more of a detailed report from programs, and they were able to share that with the allocations committee in advance of the allocations hearing, which I think seemed to be useful for the allocations committee to be able to have that grounding in how the programs were going this year and be able to ask questions accordingly. So, thanks. Cool.
Thank you, Lorraine. We'll look forward to getting those program reports that come through when you send that to us. It's great to hear that our programs are doing well. Obviously, the goal is to have more referrals coming from our schools and from our communities as opposed to through DJJ. We love DJJ, but that's kind of after the fact. We want to get it ahead of the curve. So it's great to hear that news, and we look forward to seeing that report. Any other public comments, any announcements? Anybody have any dates, anything that's coming up that you want to share with the council? So we can see if we need to be in attendance to anything.
Yes, George, I have an announcement. I believe it's gone out to a lot of folks. On Monday, April 28th at the Buncombe County Courthouse, we will be having a teen court hearing with our adult judge serving. I believe Judge Smitty came to the last session and spoke impromptu to our 4 youth attorneys who all passed their bar exam. Thank you, Deja. If she's still on here, she was helping out with that as well. Right. We have folks from Loveland schools, some SROs coming, as well as the entire junior senior class from Montreat College in the Criminal Justice Department.
Wow.
As well as the Asheville City Schools Superintendent has RSVP'd with her staff. Anyone who is wanting to attend this, Sylvia Clement has given us the 4th floor conference room. So we'll be doing a Q&A starting at 4:30, and promptly at 5, the teen court hearings will start. So we encourage anyone who wants to be a part of that to come and observe and be a part of April 28th.
Thank you, Karen. So that's April 28th, teen court. That is at the district. That's at the courthouse here. There's a 4:30 Q&A, and then teen court begins at 5. Teen court ends at what time, Karen?
We do our best to end at 8 with that many people. That's why we're starting at 4:30. Thank you for that. And I'll send out a reminder, Hannah, if you would like to pass it out to everyone.
Yeah, Hannah, could you send me that? Can you send me that information?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Anyone else? Public announcements, comments?
Oh, I put in the chat, so I've been organizing a youth job fair for May 6th, on May 6th. If you want to pass that out to any, I was going to try to reach out to Sylvia to see if she could get that to her. I really need to form a relationship with the I guess, is there probation and parole for like juveniles in Buncombe County? Not sure about that, but I know they, sometimes they have troubles finding jobs, and through the workforce board, that's what we do. So yeah, if you all are interested in coming out and visiting, that'll be fine. I can send you all the flyer, or just reach out to me if you have anyone that's interested. We're already at 19 organizations that are participating, so we're doing pretty well to be 2.5 weeks out. So, and I am partnering with the CT directors from Buncombe County Schools and the Asheville City Schools.
Excellent. Brandon, you said youth. What's the age group?
It's 16 to 24, but so those are the kind of organizations that I'm targeting. We have our larger job fairs. So we just had our our WNC Expo out at the Ag Center last week. So just trying to do something different with this. We got $1.8 million grant from the Department of Labor. So just trying to do something on a smaller scale for the younger folks for entry-level stuff, and get some of the smaller organizations involved. A lot of times we just have the larger corporations participating. So, and a lot of those folks, you know, you'd have to have some type of experience. So just trying to help our young people get their feet in the door and gain those soft skills. My first job was at Zaxby's on Tonal Road. So,
So Brandon, can you send me a copy of that flyer?
I'd love to. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you could send it to Hannah. We could get that one sent out too really fast for the whole group. That would be great.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'll send it to Hannah, and yeah, Hannah, that'd be great. Yeah, I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure who all will be attending on the 28th, but that might be a good time, especially given that it's not a 2-year commitment for someone under 21. We do have a nice array of youth volunteers from the homeschool. And I believe the last time we had a youth, he was from our homeschool teen court program. So Hannah, just in response to mine, if you want to send me that information, we can put a public announcement in prior to the teen court session on the 28th.
That's a great idea.
That sounds good. Great. I am working with our JCPC funded programs who are interested in trying to schedule a training on mediation with a focus on truancy. So have been working with Terry Bazziello from the state Restoring Youth and Sea Coalition and some of our JCPC program partners to try to find dates in June that would work for folks. And I know that issue of how to re-engage youth and families who are dealing with chronic absenteeism has been a long-term standing one and is one that's still of a lot of interest, particularly from some of our school and community partners, and trying to figure out alternative responses to that. So I'm talking with Kim Robinson with Asheville City Schools about that as well, and hoping to bring this training as one piece of support.
Stevens-Lee Center, Community Health Workers, and Umoja are partnering for a talent show. I'll share the flyer with you all. It's a focus on violence prevention and has a wonderful quote from Michael Hayes on the flyer, but I'll just share that with you all. It's May 17th. Let me make sure I got the right day. Yep, May 17th. At Stevens-Lee Community Center, but I'll share the flyer with everybody.
Thanks, Angel. That's wonderful. So we got April 28th, teen court. We got May 6th. We got a job fair, youth job fair with Brandon. Then we got a talent show on May 17th. So a lot of community activities here for the next month, at least 3. That's wonderful news as we head into the summer. Again, and I don't want to cut anyone off, but if there's any other events that are happening, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll share them and make sure that at least everyone on this call is notified of those dates and times. Well, without further ado, that's all we have for public comments and announcements. It looks like we're down to the bottom of the agenda, which would be the adjournment.
Before we do that, I did try to raise my hand, and I just want to. That's all right. I just wanted to say, since I've got to go soon, in any of the events, one of the other groups I'm working on, in addition to the gun locks, the medication locks on the household medicines, over-the-counter medicines, seems to be something where we could maybe do a lot of good if that gets announced, or we figure out how to do that at each spot. So I just wanted to mention that to all of the groups, that if you see an ability to kind of add that to the list of things to do to help with the communities, that's something that we really need to be tackling right now to help prevent the teen use and anybody's misuse. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Sounds like something we need to team up with gun locks, medicine locks. If we can perhaps do them simultaneously, we can knock out two birds with one stone.
Some counties have been using that approach, and that's a great idea. Thanks, Judge Dotson.
Any other comments?
George, you asked about the age group, so I said 16 to 24, but I did want to say that it's open to everyone. We are equal employment opportunity. Make sure I say that.
Nice caveat, Brandon. Appreciate that. The age is 16 to 24 for the youth job fair, but it's open to everyone.
Yeah, but I am using out of school youth funds for this job fair, so do want to try to focus, a little bit on that population. So, but it's kind of tough because I don't have anywhere to I got to go to the neighborhoods to try to find them.
Yeah,
it's knock on their door. It's like, you got a job? Want one? No.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. If there's anything else, please feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, I hope to see y'all perhaps next month as we look for the annual plan and certification. Y'all have a great rest of your day.
Second.
Thank you.
Yeah.